Yo, what is up, guys? It's your girl Bex, and welcome back to the race rundown post weekend in Jeddah. This weekend, I have a notebook. Just a girl who loves Formula One. And, might I add, I'm Becky with the good hair this weekend. I fixed the hair situation. The background, still a work in progress. The hair, on the other hand, managed to fix that, so that's fine. I have a notebook this time. Slightly less antisocial than the phone. So, on that note, as she itches her eyebrow for the upteenth time today, let's get into it. The notes from Jeddah. Allow me to just clear my throat. Turn 1 incident with Max and Oscar. We're starting off problematic. I personally agree with the F1 commentary team and, of course, McLaren in the fact that if there was a gravel trap on that side, he would have slipped in behind Oscar and not gone through it. He was trying his luck and he was, he was penalised for it. Do I personally think that the penalty was enough? I think he should have just given the place back, to be honest, because that's exactly what happened in the end. He did the 5-second penalty, he lost the place, and that was it. Yeah, that's all I'm going to say on that. I've had a couple days to chill out, collect my thoughts. I think Max is trying his luck again, as always. I think that he is doing everything, pulling out all the stops. And I think that a lot of Red Bull fans are claiming bias. I would just like to refer to the ultimate bias that was 2021, she says as she takes a sip from her cup. Because I need a drink because of the awkwardness from that comment I just made. Anyway, along that lap, we have Yuki and Pierre Gasly straight into the wall. Gasly's car definitely came off worse from that. There was nowhere they could have gone. It was just a simple racing incident. Unfortunately, Yuki just hit the back wing and it was too much to fix. And it is what it is. It sucks considering he really hasn't had a chance to prove himself in the Red Bull as of yet. But we'll see. We will see Yuki shine, I'm 90% sure. So then, because of that, safety car was deployed. Lando makes up 2 spaces, going from 10th to 8th, because that's maths, ladies and gentlemen. Then Max goes early from the safety car and then gets hit with a 5-second penalty for the aforementioned incident at the top of this episode. Not as bad as it could have been, personally, in my opinion. I think he should have just, as I said, been asked to hand the position back, because that's all that ended up happening with the penalty anyway, was that he just gave the position back to Oscar. I think that should have happened in the first place. I think him being mad over the radio, if that was somebody else, he'd have been all over the radio saying, he needs to give me the position back, he needs to be penalised for that. But because it was him, he just wanted to get away with it. Typical Max behaviour, to be honest. It's one of the things that I don't like about him. I think he's a really talented driver and he could do well without having to piss and moan. And it just annoys me when he does. And don't get me wrong, sometimes he's warranted in his pissing and moaning. However, you know for a fact that if that was the other way round and Oscar had gone off the track, he'd have been on the radio within 10 seconds flat saying, he needs to give that position back, me. So, they're just playing them at their own game. And Red Bull don't like it when they're being played at their own game. And personally, I don't like Christian Horner. Max is actually second on the list of people that I don't like. No, third on the list of people that I don't like from Red Bull. You have Helmut Marko, you have Christian Horner, and then you have Max. Yuki is yet to become an arsehole, but he hasn't been in the team long enough. So give it time and he will probably be on that list as well. So, anyway, all thoughts aside on Red Bull, we then have Lewis. I want to take a second to just pause on this. Again, not Team LH, not hating on Lewis. I am just here thinking, how much longer is it going to take for him to get used to that Ferrari? It is borderline embarrassing at this point. I know that every driver has a warming up period, as we've seen with Carlos Sainz, as we've seen with all the rookies this year. They need to get used to the car, blah, 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 etc. But then the question starts when you're 5 or 6 races in of how long is it going to take for you to get used to that car? Because obviously we've seen that Red Bull have a very short fuse when it comes to drivers getting used to cars. Rest in peace, Checo. Rest in peace, Liam Lawson. Rest in peace, Albon. Rest in peace. The list is endless, okay? Red Bull go through drivers like I go through underpants, you know? So then, with people getting to grips with cars, there's other people on the track at the moment that can't make excuses for themselves. Stroll being one of them. Again, we're not going to shit on Stroll this week. Everybody knows how I feel about Stroll. I don't have to tell you how I feel about Stroll. You already know how I feel about Stroll. However, okay, again, this is painful for me to say. And I have it written here. So this isn't me making it up. I have it written here. Lando is making too many mistakes at the moment for somebody that should be fighting for a World Drivers' Championship. Out of the 2 McLaren drivers, Oscar is performing better and to a higher standard, and that pains me to say. I don't have a favourite driver in McLaren. Everybody's like, oh, you're a Lando fangirl. No, I'm not. I just like McLaren, and I will say that until I'm blue in the face. Most of my merchandise is Lando Norris because he races under the Great Britain flag. So, of course, I'm going to lean more towards that. Am I opposed to the Australian? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I loved Mark Webber when he was racing. So it's no surprise that I like Piastri too. Just saying. So, I just think that Piastri is running circles around Lando at the moment, and it's borderline embarrassing for him. So I have written here that he's just making too many mistakes, and the fact that he's giving early DRS to Lewis, not once but twice, handing the position basically back to him on a silver platter because he just can't work out where the DRS zones are. It's like, dude, you are not racing like a world champion right now, and you need to get your shit together. Like, I don't know why I'm looking into the camera like he's actually listening, because I know he isn't. But my God, he needs to get his shit together. Seriously, he needs to get his shit together. With the marbles everywhere, and then him just giving back the DRS twice. Twice! To a rookie, maybe you could get away with that. But to a 7.5-time world champion, you can't get away with that. He's just going to take that space right back, and you look like a twat in the process. That's that. That's my little rant about Lando Norris and the fact that he keeps fucking everything up at the moment, and he's making his life difficult, and it's the only person he has to blame is himself. Moving on. So then Piastri pits early, 3.4 seconds, lost about 1.2 seconds in the pit stop, behind Hamilton and ahead of Sainz. Lando from 10th to 3rd in lap 21. Then you have the issue of Lando pitting. Now, I have this written here. There was rumours and talk of, in the commentary with Crofty and the gang, as I call them, that Lando wasn't slow enough going into the pit. This happens a lot. He tends to just come in all guns blazing and honestly just chooses where he hits the pit limiter. Kind of scary as a fan. But it's okay. He does what he needs to, and that's fine. So there was talks about whether he wasn't slow enough into the pit. And then that quickly shifted when the stewards noted that he was potentially over the line on the pit exit. Now, when you see the footage, the Sky F1 footage, you could only see from one side. And it didn't look good. It didn't look good for old Lando Norris. However, the stewards have static cameras that we don't see. And clearly, they saw enough evidence to suggest that he was okay. But this is what I mean when I say that he's making too many mistakes. Because if he wasn't okay, that's him making his life harder than it needs to. You crash in Q3, you end up 10th, you've made your life difficult as it is already, you've called yourself a fucking idiot, which I mean, I'm inclined to agree. It sounds horrible, but I'm inclined to agree at this point. And then you go pulling shit like that. It's like, bruv, come on, you're not going to win a championship like that. Like, seriously, come on. So then he's just been outperformed left, right and centre by his teammate, because, of course he is, which is embarrassing because he's younger than him and less experienced than him. And it's like, dude, you should not have taken this long to even be getting a whiff of a championship. Like, come on. You should have been there by now. You've been with the same team since your fucking rookie debut. Like, come on. If anyone's going to know that car, it's going to be you. As you can tell, me and Lando are not best friends at the moment. So then so that I don't continue to rant about that for the next 20 minutes, we're going to go on to Ocon and Behrman being told to swap. Made me happy because I'm not really an Ocon fan. I think that he's being outdone by somebody younger than him as well, which is also embarrassing. But then when that driver that is younger than him was in the Ferrari drivers program, I'm not shocked. So those two get told to swap, thank God. Lando then learned from his lessons with Lewis and passed George without giving him the DRS. Thank the Lord Jesus. Then, the race continues. Piastri crosses the line. Everybody's happy. So then you look at the stats and what it means for Piastri winning, okay? So a little bit of history here in the old notebook. First time since Webber in 2010 that an Aussie has led the championship. Which, Mark Webber is his manager, so I'm not shocked by this. And it's the first time that Red Bull have been defeated at Jeddah since 2022. So that's pretty good going, to be honest. So we then finished the race with Piastri first, Max second, yep, Charles third, Lando fourth, Russell fifth, Antonelli sixth. Good job for Antonelli. I would just like to point out again that I said at the beginning of the season that Antonelli was a risk. I take it back. Antonelli was a good pick from Toto. And you know what? I was wrong. There we go. I was wrong. I've probably admitted in a previous episode that I was wrong, but for the remainder of the season, I will also admit that I was wrong. Because I was wrong. There. Your host, Bex of the Race Rundown, was wrong when it came to Kimi Antonelli. The man's got skills. There we go. Simple as. Clip that if you want. So, then I just want to talk about sort of some off-track news / opinions, because this race was a bit more action-packed than the last, and we loved that. There's no, last-minute disqualifications this time, so that's good, because I can't be bothered to keep reporting on those. I can't keep running off and running back when it comes to recording. The last-minute disqualifications and DNFs just stress me out, okay? Because I finish recording and then they always get released. Hence why the app is left on loud so that I can hear in case anything changes. I've had to leave it a day this time so that I don't have to keep rushing back to record. So, Hadjar. I have some thoughts on our guy Hadjar. I think on a good day he could be a threat. Genuinely. Again, the key phrase being on a good day. He hasn't had many at the moment, but this weekend he showed a spark of potential and I'm here for it. I'm excited to see what he does for the remainder of the season. He is running circles around Lawson, and quite honestly that makes me happy because Lawson, in my opinion, is an arrogant prick. Anyone that's seen Drive to Survive understands. Anyone that hasn't, maybe watch that scene. If not, I don't blame you. Drive to Survive is awful. But in my unpopular opinion, as you know, on this podcast, I do not shy away from my unpopular opinions. Lawson is an absolute arse and an arrogant prick. And part of me felt sorry for him for being kicked out of Red Bull so quickly. The other half found it hilarious because you can't have all the confidence in the world and not be able to back it up. I think Hadjar has potential and I'm excited to see it. So next point, the most recent bit of news here is that Brown and Horner have differing views on the first lap incident. Shock, Brown and Horner have different views on everything. They don't like each other. I don't think Horner likes anybody, but the big ZB and the big CH don't like each other at all. Not shocked by this at all. Of course they're going to have different views. One thinks that the sun shines out of Max's arse and the other one thinks that he's a prick, and I'm inclined to agree that he's a prick. So, and again, that's not biased towards McLaren, it's just my thoughts and feelings on Max and his behaviour. Simple as that. If there was a gravel trap, he wouldn't have tried to go round it. He would have ducked in behind Oscar and that would have been that. If there was a chance of him getting beached, but because there wasn't, and there was a sneaky chance that he could piss and moan over the radio, he took it, and it backfired, and boo-hoo, don't be a prick. Basically, that's my outlook on that. There are lots of people that will no doubt disagree with me. There are lots of people that could potentially agree with me. I'm going to hazard a guess that most of the people that will agree with me are McLaren fans. And most of the people that don't are Max fans / Red Bull fans. Which, if you are, how's the Delulu? Is the Delulu the Salulu? Or are you just holding out for a miracle here? I know it's still early, but it ain't looking good for your boy Max, is it? I mean, you saw the race start. Come on. You saw Piastri take off like a fucking rocket ship. Come on. You have to give it to him. That Red Bull looks slow. For a split second there, that Red Bull looks slow. Okay? Again, you're probably going to disagree with me, but it did. You could watch that race start over and over again. Piastri took off like a bat out of hell. Come on. Be honest with yourself. Moving on. Now that I've pissed off every Red Bull fan, they've all disappeared. This next point is going to completely contradict what I just said about being a McLaren fan, okay? And kind of touch on what I said earlier. Lando feeling sorry for himself in post-race interviews is getting old. It's getting old. It's like, dude, you're doing this to yourself. Stop trying to make us pity you and just fucking get better. Learn from the mistakes that you're making and just stop feeling sorry for yourself. Seriously, it's getting old. Standing there, being angry at yourself, borderline fucking crying when people are asking you questions. It's like, bruv, just get better. Learn from the shitty mistakes that you are making. You are making mistakes as if you are a rookie, and that is fucking embarrassing. With the amount of years of experience that you have, it's fucking embarrassing. Again, I'm talking like he's listening. He's not. However, it is fucking embarrassing. It's embarrassing for you as a driver. It's embarrassing the fact that you're being outdone by somebody who's had less experience in the car than you, and it's just embarrassing in general. Nobody cares. Learn from the mistakes that you're making and stop crying in the interviews, because ultimately the only person that is making the mistakes and the only person that is causing your life to be difficult at the moment is you. And if you want to fight for a world championship, you need to fucking fight for it and not be a pussy and expect fucking team orders to stop Oscar from lapping you. Like, brother, come on. You can't rely on the big ZB to keep you safe all the time. The fact that fucking Imola happened and Danny Rick won a race before you did is embarrassing. It's embarrassing. And I know that some will argue, oh, well, they handed that to Daniel for his confidence. Probably, but then at the same time, you're making mistakes that you shouldn't be. Like, come on. At this point, it just looks as if Oscar wants it more, and he probably does. Like, get out of your own head, switch on, and fucking crack on, because there's nothing stopping you winning this championship. You've just got the wrong mentality. Oh, sorry, I got very angry there. But you know what I mean? And I've got a quote here. And it says, I make my life pretty tough, like today, when he was talking about the mistakes in Q3 and the mistakes during the race. We know you make your life harder. We're aware. We witness it in real time. Get out of your head, pull your finger out your ass, and get on with it. It's that simple. It's that simple. You've had enough experience in that car. You know the team. You know you don't have the excuse of being a rookie anymore. You don't have, and you shouldn't have, and I will stand by this, you shouldn't have team orders to make sure that Oscar stays behind you in order to win. We're not Aston Martin here. We're not forcing Alonso to stay behind Stroll. You know, we're not pulling any of that shit. There is no number one driver, and you need to fucking race. Okay? And he isn't. And to be completely honest, if Oscar wins the Drivers' Championship and Lando doesn't, one, it's embarrassing, and two, at the end of the day, it's a win for McLaren, so I'm happy. And then the final thing I want to talk about, which she slams the notebook down. I'm still not sure how I feel about this, but is anyone actually hyped for the Formula 1 movie? Genuinely. Is anyone actually excited for this? Because I feel like the hype has died down quite quickly. Obviously, every F1 team did a live for the trailer drop-in, and then it's kind of just dropped out. There hasn't really been a lot of marketing so far. There hasn't really been like a press tour or anything. It just kind of, this is the trailer, doesn't it look good? Not really. And then just left it. So I want to know your thoughts in the comments, right? Does anybody actually think that this film is going to be good? I'm still going to, this is the thing, I talk shit on it now. I'm still going to go and see it. Fully. But is anyone actually excited? That's what I want to know. Like, I'm not as excited as I thought I would be, to be completely honest. So there's my thoughts on that. Anyway, to round off the episode, we have, obviously, Miami in a couple of weeks at the beginning of May. We all know my thoughts on Miami at this point. Could we see another Lando Norris win 2 years in a row at Miami? Who knows? With the shit that he's pulling at the moment, the answer is no. So until then, I've been your girl Bex. This has been the Race Rundown, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.